Yeah, so it's a couple things I'll touch on. It's like I almost felt like we kind of gave. I was listening to some of our older podcasts and listening to. I was doing some timestamps and whatnot for YouTube, and I noticed we were really ragging on Scav Karma, man, at the start. But welcome to ScavTalk, an escape from Tarkov podcast with a focus on the continuing development of the game, patch note analysis, theory crafting, and general gameplay discussions. My name is Church. I'm one of your hosts. I do content creation, video editing, and general live streaming.
And I'm GigaBeef, a Tarkov YouTuber helping you get better at the game. And welcome back to the show, everybody. So, Church, how's it been going this week in the crazy land that is EFT?
It's been going good. Haven't got to play as much as I wanted to, but other than that, it's been going good.
Nice. Nice. I dropped into your stream like right at the end one time. I was doing
Oh
some other
yeah.
bits and pieces, and you guys were having like a proper dorms fight. Like it was like serious dorms fight. And it's
hmm
actually something that I kind of I guess never really experienced properly because I just don't play with other people very often, and those people who I do usually play with tend to be like less experienced, and so you don't end up getting in those situations. But like I'd stumbled upon this kind of like the raid battle state series esque fight going on with like three dudes firing down like corridors and people like suppressing fire and nades going off. It was crazy. It was crazy. It looked like you were having a good time.
Yeah, it can be a lot of fun. I feel like I've fallen off from like squad PvP, like comms and whatnot. Like
Mm.
I don't know. Just I haven't played in a while. Like when I first started playing, that was like all we did. I had a group and we just played squads all the time. Like we used to do like 5-man interchange runs and fight other squads. That was a lot of fun. But yeah. Yeah, it's been good. How about yourself?
It's good. It's good. Yeah. It's been interesting. It's been kind of like I don't know. I feel like maybe I've got a bit more kind of perspective this wipe on kind of like how the wipe goes for me, and it's going exactly how I would expect it to be going. But in some ways, it's funny actually, like seeing more, like watching other people play and stuff. It's like I think I don't know whether I play in a really weird way. I'm not sure. Like I just don't know because obviously like later on in the wipe I don't really loot very much stuff. Obviously I loot loads
hmm
of things early on because it's the best way to make money. But like the number of PMC encounters I've had, especially in the last like maybe this is slightly unfair, but like on stream I get a decent number of PMC encounters. It tends to be because I go and do the more aggressive stuff on stream, I would say. But there's so many just kind of like routine go here, grab the thing, leave, right? Kind of quests.
hmm
And
hmm
at the beginning of the wipe, I'm like so focused on questing, progression, grabbing items, right? And with finding raid and all of that kind of stuff, and just the way the quest is set up, dying is it's so bad for getting anything done. It's just I just end up like playing not like super safe, but it's just funny. I like so many of the times I'll be like playing in like bits and pieces doing other stuff. That's why I don't like stream outside of my like big slot. So when I'm like streaming in the slot, I'm like going places, I'm like doing some PvP and like dying and getting kills and whatever, and it's like kind of fun. And then in the week I'm just like I'm doing other things. So I like load into a raid. Maybe I'll just like park my PMC for 30 minutes. Then I'll come back after doing something like eat a can of Tushonka and drink some juice, and then go to resort, grab an item, and leave. That kind of stuff. So it's kind of like it's almost like min maxing like my life around the game as well, because it's like I'll just like leave it there for a bit. And I'm just like, well, I'm not going to go there now. There's a couple of times where I've tried to go and complete quest right at the start and just like bump into some dude running an AKM, and you're like, oh, okay, I'm dead, and that's no, that really sucks. Um, but yeah, I've just been like min maxing quests super hard, trying to get up the hideout stuff going on. Got the Bitcoin farm level 1 like in motion. It's building. So it's been good fun actually. I really enjoy that. I enjoy that whole thing. I enjoy the progression. I enjoy
Yeah.
all this. I was going to talk a little bit about this later, about the kind of the system and the way it works and kind of what kinds of people enjoy it and why I enjoy it so much. But yeah, so far it's been going pretty well. Smashing through the quests. Actually starting to use some better guns now, which is good. I'm level 26, I think now.
Oh
Um,
man. I think you're caught up with me or maybe even past me now.
it's probably just like hardcore questing though, and just getting XP that way. That's like
Yeah.
generally tends to be the way. Um, so yeah, like it's good, but it's kind of like it's the way that my wipes go, and that's
Hmm.
fine. But I feel like I've got a broader context of kind of like how other people's wipes go, and it's maybe a bit different to that. So
So
I'm not,
you're
I don't know,
like
really.
pure min max, like you have like 2 rubles in your inventory because it's all been pure min max into the hideout, and then like you're just like running in customs, hiding in a bush, eating Tashanka cans, leveling metabolism, got metal fuel tanks, and all this. Like you're that kind of gamer, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I mean, we can talk about this right now if you want. I think,
Yeah, let's
we,
do it.
and then we can talk about a bit of news afterwards, I guess, because it's kind of been a bit more bitty this week. But yeah, I mean, it's exactly that. Like I've fallen. I said last week I've fallen in love with the M9, and I've ended up doing like
Uh-huh.
a lot more, just like I never used to feel like I could actually kill anybody, and these days it's like, well, I feel like I'm much more capable of, murdering somebody with an M9 if it comes to it. But most of the time, I'm not gonna. I don't really need to, and I don't really have access to any decent ammo. And so it's like, well, if I have that weapon, I'm kind of just like aiming for like headshots anyway, and you get decent number of rounds or whatever, and it's like super
Yeah.
fast to ADS, and it's like it's actually okay for killing scavs and that kind of thing. And so yeah, the rest of the time I'm just like sat in bushes eating tushonka. Like the other day, I was like, I think I sent you a screenshot of it actually. I was trying to upgrade the med station. Finally got like
Yeah.
therapist up, and I'd made my LEDX like well in advance.
Same.
So I bought the LEDX well in advance. Sorry, because I'm making the LEDX for the next
Yeah.
quest. That's happening at the moment. So it's all this like chains of like this happens, then this happens, then this happens, and then I came out of the raid, and I was like, right, I can definitely do it now. And I was like, why didn't it give me the thing saying that the module could be created? And I went in, and it was just like, you have 459,000 rubles out of 500,000 or whatever it was. And I was like, oh no! So I had to like go into the nutrition unit, like sell some condensed milks, like just scraped together. I had like 16k at one point, but like the med station's upgrading, so it's fine. And like, yeah, I just like play it like super, super, super tight at the beginning. It's like any spare money is like either going into hideout stuff, because I managed to blow out to like 2 mil at one point, and I spent like a mil of it on GPUs, and then just like tuck them away, and then just like keep going. I try to have a bit of a float. I try to have like 500k, because if you don't have like a few 100,000, it gets a little awkward if you have like a load of crafts all come through simultaneously. You're trying to sell stuff on the flea, but you need to buy some fuel or whatever, and you want to make another mag box and all this kind of stuff. So it gets kind of complicated. But no, I was thinking about this a little bit just in general, and I've actually spoken before about how I quite enjoy idle games, right? And I think I've said about this, and it's kind of like idle or incremental games. It kind of depends on, there's two sort of fringes to this a similar concept, and like EFT in a lot of ways does actually kind of lend itself to that kind of thing. You have to check in every day, and then you may put another craft on, and then you like slowly things build up, and it's that like slow sense of progression. There's actually a
Hmm.
lot of similarities between these two types of game, which I don't know. I think it's one of the reasons why I end up getting so addictive to the Tarkov grind, because I'm not actually a huge fan of some of the quests, even though they are for me getting easier each wipe. It's like the hideout progression is just so good, and like the trader progression, like kind of being able to do more stuff, make more money, run better kits, that kind of thing. And
But yeah, I wouldn't do the quest if there wasn't no trader progression. I'll tell you that
yeah,
much right
yeah,
now.
exactly. But I think like this wipe especially has kind of made me appreciate a lot more running like some nice guns.
Hmm.
Um, because yeah, you run trash until level 20. There's one thing, like I didn't actually go hunting for any attachments particularly, but you just don't really get any. And because of the way that the system works, I don't know whether you had a different experience, but because of the way that the system works in terms of recoil, which I've spoken about before, right? This like additive thing rather than being
Yeah.
multiplicative.
Yeah.
The first couple of months don't do anything. So
Yeah.
unless you've got like a comp and something on the the stock end, and you've got like
Right.
a maybe of the foregrip or something, it doesn't really do that much. And you can't buy any of these things. And finding all the stuff for the same gun, firstly, isn't really worth it, and secondly, is very unlikely. And so I just ended up running this like rubbish stuff the whole time. Like the nicest gun I ended up running was the MP5 SD after I unlocked it from Peacekeeper, because that was actually a real beauty, because you hardly
Yeah.
have to do anything to it. But you end up just like running guns that you don't need to do anything to, and the modding is kind of, I don't know. I started to miss it, because I do a lot of modding when I'm in a normal time, in anywhere from 1 month plus from the beginning of the wipe. And I was like, yeah, I kind of miss just like tinkering with guns, deciding, because I like min maxing like what I take it. I get, do I want to get a few more points of ergo or not, and how much that cost and all that kind of stuff. And I really started to miss it on the way up. So it's nice to start running a couple of better guns. And we're not going crazy yet. Still got the
Yeah.
hideout to upgrade. But yeah, it is a funny one. I guess like, was there any like specific news stuff that you want to talk about? Because there was like some updates that I wanted to mention. I don't know how that feeds into anything that you'd seen, but like one that I thought was quite interesting was like about BT ammo basically being removed from the loot table. I don't know whether you'd like notice
Oh,
this,
I didn't see
but
that. That's
but
interesting.
yeah, so like if you go around on reserve now, pretty much the only ammo that you can get is like T, and like maybe BP occasionally, but then there's like all of the really bad ones like PRS and stuff going in like boxes of 120. And finding BT is really not anywhere. It's really nowhere near as easy as it used to be. Like by far, it's so different, right? I used to run around
Mm,
reserve, and you just get there's just BT everywhere, and sometimes even BS. And there are some boxes of BS occasionally, but it's like 30s, and they're very very rare. And the same thing for BT, I just hardly find it at all. And you can kind of see this in on the flea as well, because the ammo is around like
they're all the
600k
same
rubles.
price.
It's yeah, and it's like, but it's like way inflated because back in the old wipe, I know it was kind of a bit different, but BT has been cheap forever
Yeah.
in the previous patch, right? Because there's just BT was everywhere, and so it was like 200, 300 rubles. But now it's like the trader price or higher, so kind of things. It's like 600, 650 plus for BT, which I find kind of interesting because that's something that people were running a lot in the previous wipes, especially kind of in the mid game. Um, and it's not something that I actually ever really ran that much. Like 545 is not a favorite of mine for various reasons. Like I have run it and it's okay, but I'm not a massive fan of it. So there's one thing that's quite interesting that I've noticed then is that you can actually unlock 56A1 from Peacekeeper 2 quite early. And if you run that with the MDR, you actually basically just get like better stats, and the actual round is better as well at this point in the wipe. And so it kind of makes 556 like a bit more viable if you're running. I wouldn't run it. I wouldn't run anything that you need to mod properly, but like the MDR is good because it comes modded out the box. So you don't need to really do anything to it. You get it at 100% because the ones that people find in boxes are at 100%. So you don't have like these crappy, 74 ends with 50% durability that can't fire over long distance, anything like that. And the only thing that you really miss out on is being able to attach like something like the PSO if you want to do long range. So it's interesting how it's kind of mixing up. I haven't seen many people doing it yet, but like 56A1 is like $3 around instead of like 650 rubles on the
Yeah.
flea,
There is
and
a
it's
bit of a
better.
caveat to that
Mm.
because I think it's quest locked to do that, to
Oh,
buy
what
that ammo.
56A1?
Yeah.
Ah, you might be
It's
right. I've actually pushed really far through Peacekeeper, um, which is kind of what I did last wipe actually. So let me have a quick check because okay, so you have to do the cult part one from Peacekeeper level 2.
yeah, because I'm on that quest.
Okay, but
I
that's
saw
pretty
it
like it's
unlocks it.
pretty early. It's pretty early in his thing, isn't
Well,
it? You have to go through a
if you
couple of them. You do have to go through a few.
yeah, because it's locked
Okay.
behind gear, and if you're like me, you can
Yeah.
never find flash drives fast enough. I
Yeah.
always get stuck on the flash drives one, but,
Yeah.
um, that's
I mean, that was my issue
interesting
last wipe.
that, I mean, I've always thought that maybe they should lower BT because I always felt like the meta was, like, go reserve day 1 and kill raiders, but even if you don't get raiders, you just get BT in your container, and now you
Yeah.
take your poopy AKS 74U and load BT in it. So that was like, you know, that's interesting because now I noticed on the market that BT was selling for the same price as BS and a Golnick, which I was
Yeah.
just like, I thought it kind of made sense because I just felt like BT was just I mean, it's like it's I don't know. I like that it does more flesh damage. I really don't like that BS and it going to take 3 hits to kill. But regardless, I guess that kind of explains why they're all the same price because I guess they're all kind of. I guess they've maybe leveled out now that there's less BT to go around with some more demand. You know, I guess the demand's remained the same, but the supply is lowered. I should say.
Yeah, I
So
think the
that's
others
kind
will
of
push up,
interesting.
but it's funny, right? Because when everyone's wearing level 4 armor, basically, like I'm yet to see anyone running level 5. When everyone's running level 4, it doesn't like BS, Golnick, like BT. Yeah,
It
it doesn't really
doesn't.
matter that much.
Yeah, that's how it feels.
Yeah, and so it's kind of like there's no differentiation really at the moment because
Right.
like why would you spend more on it when it basically does the same thing and you actually lose out on the flesh damage? Like yeah, you're going to get 100% chance to pen, which is great, but
Sure.
um,
Sure.
but BT is like perfectly okay against level 4 armor. It's fine. It's fine. It'll do. Which is interesting. Yeah, there's like a couple of stats, like I guess just before we move on this, that's interesting because, like as I said, I did actually get quite lucky with the flash drives this time, and I was like, well, I'm just going to push through to Peacekeeper and just like get some of the stuff from him because he has some like things that I really like early game, like the MP5 SD, and that
Hmm.
kind of stuff, which is quite cool. But yeah, if you look at BT, it's got 37 pen and 44 damage, and 56 A1 has got exactly the same pen for 37, but has 51 damage instead. And I was mulling this over, and we had our discussions previously about the MCX, and about Blackout
Hmm.
AP versus 55 A1, and I actually feel like there might be a similar thing going on here, right? Because like 44 pen is only, if you shoot someone twice,
That's
it's only 88, right? So you only need three
right.
points of mitigation before it is a
Yeah.
two tap to the chest. Whereas 56 A1 is 51, they can do 102 damage. So you actually then need like, I think it's 17% when I was looking at the numbers. It's actually quite a big
Yeah.
difference. So I'm
Yeah.
really
For
tempted. I
sure.
haven't actually run any yet. I haven't run any because I've been using other weapons, but um, it's funny. It's funny. Like choosing weapons in the mid game is actually really hard. I think I'm going to do my next video about it because it's complicated, right? It's just like, well, you could pick the MP5 SD, which has got like no recoil, but all the ammo is completely awful, and AP 6.3 is really expensive. Or you could pick, um, the M sort of a 556 type thing, but then you have to get Peacekeeper unlocked, or then you could pick the AKs, but then BT is now quite expensive. It's just like it's difficult to pick something that actually makes sense at the moment. I'm finding there's lots of sort of potentially viable things, but nothing that's like quite perfect. It's kind of a
Yeah.
weird one. It's
It
kind of a
is.
weird one.
I've been trying to min max in that area for like a good mid game ammo, and I noticed that the AS Val ammo is really cheap. Like SP5 is really cheap. Sorry,
Yes.
SP6 is really cheap. SPP is really cheap. BP is like, I think I try to buy at 600 rupees per round at most.
Mm.
And you can easily snag it lower. And this kind of transitions or whatever, but anyways, I've been trying that gun out, and it's kinda hard because if you buy the 20 rounders, there's still like 11,000 rupees per 20 rounder mag,
Uh,
and then the 30 rounders are like, you know,
yeah.
60% cost of the gun. It's like crazy, but I've been trying to kill Killa for this Jaeger quest because I need Jaeger level 2 to build the water collector. So I can do all these hideout upgrades. And it's so annoying, dude. This is a bit of a tangent, but if I don't get the god tier interchange spawn, like I've been buying an SJ6 too to even help with that.
Hmm.
But like the times I do get the god tier spawn, I run there and he's not there, and there's another guy doing the exact same thing I'm doing, and it's just like,
Yeah.
oh my god, this quest is so annoying because then you got the other people that are just farming Killa, for like the jacket or the unlock as well. But I
So
had a
you
weapon
doing those
jam.
you doing those boss quests already?
I have like 10 Jaeger quests. And it's really hard on standard account because you don't get bonus rep, and
Yes.
a lot of the quests that you do for all the other traders are like, I don't like Jaeger, minus 0.01 to Jaeger. And all that really adds up. Like I've had it happen before where like I've done like multiple quests. I'm like, yes, I'm gonna unlock Jaeger level 2, and then I turn in all the quests, and then I realized, "Oh my god, I just nullified that quest I just did for Jaeger." You know what I mean? It's like it's
Uh,
actually really bad because a lot of his quests are only like 0.02 rep. So,
and I think some of them have been reduced as well, this wipe. Some of
really,
them, yeah. So
that's
you have to do
interesting.
more now than you used to. I think like ambulance, I was reading like ambulance used to be like point, it was like loads, it's like point 0.3 or something crazy. And now it's like 0.02 or something insane.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so it's just rough. It's rough. You were saying you had a jam.
Yeah, so I this is kind of gonna branch into the other bit of news, if you will. I saw that one peg has been doing some testing with weapon jams, and I don't know if you saw Jesse Kazam's video. He did a weapons jams testing video. Did you happen to catch that?
I actually haven't. I saw that it was out. I didn't realize it was it's maybe just the way it was written. I didn't realize it was an actual like full testing thing. I thought he was going to be like describing the mechanics, so I didn't watch it. But if it's a testing like an actual testing video where he puts like 5,000 rounds through different guns, then I definitely will. But I didn't get that vibe from the thumbnail, so maybe it was just like not marketed quite right.
It is like that, yes, indeed. So
As in
definitely,
testing or concept.
testing.
Okay,
Sorry.
okay, fine. Well, I'll definitely check it out then.
Yeah, because this is what really frustrates me, and this is sort of like stepping back on a meta level, is that there's I just wish they just provided us the information so that way we can actually test it properly to know what's going on, because now it seems that people are of the mindset that the ammo itself has a different modifier to the jam percentage. So not only does it burn the durability more of the gun, there's a hidden stat to jam the gun more often. That
I did
seems to
see
be
that.
the
Yeah, I saw that written. So there was a Reddit post that I read actually that was kind of about that.
yeah, I
Um,
think I did see that as well,
yeah, they actually posted it at one peg on his Twitter, and I read it from there, and that was quite interesting. Um, but then that also had the the jam chance that they'd gone through lots and lots and lots of different weapons and durabilities and that kind of stuff, and it seemed like, I don't know whether, yeah, I'm sure you saw this as well, that above 50%, it doesn't seem to make any difference. The
Yes.
jam percentage is identical above 50% on every gun, it seems. Um, which is all well and good, but I don't think that's a good. I don't think that's good. I think we talked about this previously, but
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't think that makes sense. And it's interesting to see, like, as more details of this system come to light, I feel like, there needs to be, because I think this guy tested lots of different mags, right? And there's certain things that I would expect to happen that don't. Things like 60s jamming more than 30s, which apparently do not. That if you're
Yeah.
within the first 10% of its durability, that it shouldn't jam very much, and then it should, scale up as you get lower, rather than it going to 50, and then that's where the cutoff begins in terms of jam frequency, which is weird. And there's, like, the one comment that I keep seeing all over Twitter that actually probably annoys me the most is like, well, out of the factory, actually guns do, like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Make it, just make the new guns not jam. They've been tested by the trader. It's not fresh out of the factory. It's come from Peacekeeper.
Yeah.
It's like, just stop worrying about that. Like, it doesn't make sense for the game to have that in. In the same way as the game does make sense to be able to sew your stomach back together so you don't have to immediately leave a
Right.
raid,
Right.
right? It's the same thing as always. It is not. And there was actually a really good post that's up there at the moment, which I think it's got like 2,000 upvotes or something, about durability on Reddit right now, which I read like about 2 hours ago, about somebody criticizing the system. And it was pretty much exactly what I've said previously in general, but applied to the situation, which is, what exactly does BSG want us to do with this system? Like, what choices can I make to make, you know,
Yeah.
there's no interesting gameplay choices to make. I can't spend more money to stop it from happening. I can't take a risk and spend less money to, have it happen more often. Because then if you don't spend as much money, right, and then you get a jam, you're just like, oh, that's kind of my fault, right? That's on me, because my gun's a piece of crap and I didn't service it properly, because it's expensive to run, like, nice weapons all the time. But I completely agreed with what they were saying in that post, which is like, the way that's implemented, like, what are you supposed to do as a player? It just adds
Yeah. It's
RNG, and
really
there's nothing you can do. It's a similar thing of like, oh, there's not going to be any ammo charts whatsoever, but the ballistics is not necessarily going to be implemented realistically. Well, it's like, well, how on earth is anyone ever supposed to make a sensible choice, right? And if you're just guessing, that's not fun. It's not entertaining. It's not even like, it's not even rewarding, and that's kind of what they're going for, right? They're going for something being rewarding. And yeah, you could even make it so that guns do jam right from the outset, right? But just make the chance really, really low. Like, it shouldn't be the same
yeah.
between a 55% durability gun and a 95% durability gun. That should not be the same. It's so obvious, I think, to pretty much everybody in the player base, whether people agree or disagree with the rate or whatever. And the fact that, like, 60s don't jam as much as 30s is completely insane, because I thought that was partly what this was about.
Yeah. I don't know if that was ever like direct from BSG, what you're saying, because I was kind of anticipating that as well, but I think that might have just been more personality slash community injector. Um, yeah, man, I don't know. All of this just really frustrates me because I mean, hopefully we're all sort of like getting our results and they're all sort of matching up, but I'm just like worried that like we're dead wrong, and that's just like until either a data mining bro comes along and gives us the actual information so we can actually understand the systems and like, you know,
Yeah.
whether we think it's a good system or how, how we could like test it. Like, I mean, for example, um, I made an ass of myself earlier in someone's stream because they were talking about how BSG doesn't like data mining, basically. And I'm like, well, actually, you see, if it wasn't for the work of No Food After Midnight, we have never would have known about the bug in the game known as the fragmentation chance at below 20% pin. And well, anyways, it.
Yeah.
I really don't like how they do not put out these like. Okay, you want to add storyline quests? You don't have to tell me anything. You just can put a line of text that says we added new quests. You know, you
Yeah.
don't even have to say that because it's like there's nothing for me to test per se. Like the bugs are gonna obviously present themselves. You're adding a game changing system that could determine an outcome of a raid. It seems like I would want to know the details of that system. You know what I mean? Like they put out. Why would they put out details for scav karma and not details for weapon jamming? I'm just like it blows. It really frustrates me actually. Hashtag triggered, bro. Hashtag triggered.
I actually, yeah, I don't really get it. I don't mind some things being. I don't mind certain elements being hidden, but I just, yeah, I kind of agree. Like, I don't understand why they're so desperate to keep everything a secret. As you say, we're supposed to be testing, and in some ways, I can kind of see it that, like, they want to see how the community reacts. Maybe this is it, right? Like the Scav Karma thing, they're going to say, we're going to test the system. Here's how the system works. Let's see what happens. In other ways, they say, fine, we're just going to leave them to it, see what they come out with, like, see how the player base responds to the information as it kind of drip feeds out. Maybe that's a test in itself about the discovery process. Um, because yeah, the thing about the data mining thing, I've seen it on a few people's feeds saying that we got to be careful because if people data mine too much, then BSG is going to lock it all off, and then we're never going to be able to see it again, and that would be like highly counterproductive, I think.
Yes.
Because it kind of works like I think they have this idea in mind. They have this sort of idea in mind of like a sort of it's like a hearsay rumor kind of thing where people are like, oh, no. But the issue is that because content creators are so kind of prominent within EFT in finding out stuff or being told stuff or whatever, that
Mhm.
the information gets out to those who want to know it at some point because people are going to do the tests and figure things out. And like, yeah, I guess it's there's a big it kind of keeps the knowledge gap in some ways, which I don't really have an opinion on whether that's a good or a bad thing. Knowledge is power in EFTs. We know this is the map's complicated and the mechanics are complicated, but like so much stuff's hidden that you have to really go and search around for it unless you're playing the game actively and like keeping up with people's videos and whatever. Like it's hard to know what's in, what's out. I remember when I first started, I was just like looking around for stuff and it's just like, oh well, this is how it works, and then you're like, oh no, but that post was from 9 months ago, dude. Like there's no way that that's still true because there's been a wipe since. And I was just like, what's a wipe? And it's like 9 months information is like completely out of date. This is crazy. I remember when I first started, it was weird, right? um but yeah, I don't know. It's as you say, bugs get uncovered by the community. You need people to test stuff. Maybe sometimes the test is the discovery process, which I think maybe is the case with durability. But it almost would have been better the other way around, right? Like tell everybody about durability and then get people to test Scav Karma and see what happens. That would almost have made more sense in some ways.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I definitely agree with that sentiment,
Yeah.
for sure.
I just wish it with durability, like I said it before, but with durability, I really wish that muzzle attachments, barrels, and receivers and mags had a durability on them, just those four pieces. And then magazines had their own inbuilt chance to jam on their own. And
Mhm.
suppressors degraded over time and wouldn't actually, because the suppressor thing's weird, right? The suppressors thing, like they should just degrade and not be as, they should not, the recoil stats should decrease, like the recoil increasing stats. Sorry,
Get
the recoil decreasing
worse.
stats and the sound suppression stats should fade off as the
Right, yeah.
durability decreases on these
Understand.
things, right? And that's how I think that those things should work. And you could apply it to other stuff. I'm not sure if it's necessary, but you could apply it to things like pistol grips and stuff if you use them, if you really, really wanted to, so that the ergonomic stats
Mhm.
slowly degrade as the grip gets worse, something like that. Like I don't know if there's really any need for that, to be honest, but like that's kind of how in my mind I see these systems. So you have 100% one, this is the stats it's got. As the durability goes down, it gets worse and worse. And same thing for barrels. Barrels can, they can have lower MOA, that kind of thing. I was actually looking, by the way, today at brand new AKs and rubbish AKs, and the MOA is the same on them in the stats panel. It'd be quite nice if that stat did change because it give you an
Mhm.
MOA in the first place. Like, is it? is it that immersion breaking
Yeah,
to tell you how bad the accuracy is now? I don't know. Be, it'd be quite nice. But yeah, that's how I wish they'd done durability. I don't know why they've done it like this. I even posted this
I
on
think
Tobias's Twitter because he said, "Oh yeah, what's the biggest issue with the game?" And I'm just like, why have they done this? Right? It's like so the suppressor at the end is going to damage my lower, so then I get a jam in the gun. And like it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't even make any sense.
yeah, I mean, I think that system you're describing is a we'll just say extra work. It's more complex. There's way more variables. You know, they
It
would have to
is.
literally go through every like this is literally just like a you can just copy and paste on every gun. You know what I mean?
I know. I
Like
know.
you
But
could build
just
an
do suppressors or
overarching
something. I don't know. Do suppressors and then give
yeah,
mags a flat chance. Receivers and I don't know. Like there's ways to make it simpler that are like I'd rather not have the system. That's the way I feel about it actually. I'd rather not have the system the way it's implemented. I'd rather just not be there and being worked on than just be implemented in a bad way. And the reason why I don't like it is because it's unintuitive and it doesn't actually
yeah.
it isn't even realistic, and it could have been done in a realistic way,
I
but
get you. I get you.
it's not even like it's just done in an unrealistic way where you get an unexpected outcome for doing something that is actually like in real life just doesn't work like that. Like I just find it really strange. It feels like unbattle state like to me.
Yeah, my issue is not that weapon jams are in the game. It's just how like you're kind of saying how they like chose to implement it.
Mm.
Um and I think this is the way they implement it is fine, but like the concept of it being on the lower receiver and like the suppressors adding and the ammo adding to the durability burn, but as far as like the actual numbers go that we may or may not have accurate information on because we're literally doing it ourselves, like
Yeah.
and now there's like questionings coming up like, "Oh, you tested this offline raid, bro? How do we know that's legit?" And that's kind of a valid point. Like we were like I don't know. It's really fun. It's so let me jump shift gears real
Okay.
quick.
Let's do that. I'm stuck.
Ammo has to have amount and so one peg's back to like the original topic, there was like people were saying, okay, ammo has to have its own unique jam modifier. And so one peg did some testing and he found that 9 by 18 PMPSO GCH, which is for like the Keter and Klin, he got like I think it was a 40% increase on his previous jams. Now, mind you, that's not I wish I had the actual numbers in front of me, but I'm losing where that was located. Mind you, that's not a huge increase, but it's still an increase, right?
Yeah.
So I think it went from whatever like the default ammo. Um, I think that was like a 0.01, and this went from like a 0.1% chance. I want to find it now.
I
So
remember like seeing one stat that you put out that the for the MP5 anyway, there was like basically one jam per thousand, something like
yeah,
that is what he put
yeah,
out for that. And I think maybe that was the standard one or something. But the guy on Reddit had the same thing. I actually can't remember who it was who put the post out because I was just reading it. I didn't really take too much note of like who he was, but he said the same thing. There's a clear increase for certain ammo types. So there's some modifier it appears for certain ammo to jam more than others.
it appears that way. I mean, hopefully it's not just like a big random number that scales randomly. I don't know. I really wish they would. I feel like there's a bit of a need for them to confirm information, and if that's what they're doing, as for like their game development, that's just really questionable in my opinion. I just feel like we could just start at a better point. I mean, to go back to the data mining stuff. Okay, there would be less of a need to data mine info because there is a bit of a gray area how because of how BSG are choosing to like withhold information that players desire, right? So like the ammo, for example. If they just provided the ammo, there would be less people wanting to data mine to understand the systems in the game, like, literally just to comprehend how this works so they can make their own meaningful decisions, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, there is a dark side of data mining where people can find leaks, people can data mine stuff to use in other nefarious ways. That is definitely, like, a real concern and why it's a bit of a gray area, right? When we present it like that. But if BSG just implemented in-game an ammo chart, okay, or some type of system to make sense of the ammo systems that we so even the armor systems, like, oh my god, there would be we wouldn't really have, like, a need for the data mining, you know what I mean? I'm really hoping someone data mines the weapon jams because I'm just like, how do I even make sense of the system? Because right now it just feels like nothing makes sense. And from what we kind of are gathering is that high pin ammo or different ammo at best causes more weapon jams. But it's frustrating, Giga.
Yeah, it is
Frustrating.
frustrating. I actually think it's funny because I've thought about this for a while about like the way they want it to be done, and I think is the reason why I sympathize with them is I can kind of see like what they're trying to get at, which is in real life you wouldn't know like the precise performance of your rounds versus all the other types of armor and that kind of thing, and they're kind of trying to make it not a video game while it still is a video game. And they're saying, well, in real life, there aren't all these, formulas you can work out the exact pen chance on the first hit and all this stuff. So we just don't want people to know. So we're just not going to tell anybody. And exactly as you're saying, right? If they had some, I don't know, even some kind of, they wouldn't have to tell you precisely, but to say, here's sort of the range that you're looking for. Because someone who's like, I don't know, peddling this stuff like Prapor or whatever, like they would know, or a mechanic would be able to tell you or something. Say like, well, this thing's it's okay against this armor and it's good against this. They could actually put in like a no fam style table in there, give it like a rating against the armor or something. It wouldn't necessarily give you like a pen chance or anything, but the rest of it you can kind of work out. I mean, there's lots of stuff that we just deal with, like the armor damage durability thing, and the higher health it has, the more damage it'll take before it stops like protecting you from various ammos and that kind of stuff. And we deal with that, right? And we make our choices in raid based on it. We don't need to know precisely, what's the chance of like the 3 versus 2 hit, whatever. Like it's not actually completely necessary. But like if you don't give anybody the basics, if you give people not even the basics, then they're going to go and look for other stuff. And that's kind of when you get the extreme data mining and people do pull the layer back and unveil the video game underneath, right? Which is the problem. So if you gave people something, a bit, like a guide, an idea, they wouldn't necessarily feel the need as much. Some people are going to anyway, right? Because people are interested. But broad player base wouldn't have to actually go and look for this stuff in the first place because they'd be like, okay, well, BT is broadly okay. PRS is really, really bad. That's kind of gives you some idea at least of what it might do. Because at the
Mhm.
moment, you absolutely have to go elsewhere because you get zero information, and that because it's so limited, you have no choice other than to go and look at other sources. And so, I think they should have a middle
Assuming
ground.
assuming you're even someone that's motivated enough to even go do that,
Yeah, I
you
think if
might
you're
just end up.
not, I don't think you'll be playing for very long. Is my
Yeah,
um, that's my kind of view.
yeah. I don't know. There's so many divergent things we could go from there. So unless you have any final thoughts, I'm good to move on.
Let's move on.
The other thing I saw was gear changes and slash weight changes. So I kind of like this that they're changing it up. So I didn't even realize this. Like for example, the Attack 2 only weighed like 1.3 kilograms, and then it got nerfed to 3 kilograms.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah, I didn't even know that. Like the pack armor got buffed, quote unquote, like 5 kilograms, 3.5 kilograms, which is like I'm fine with it. It doesn't. Um, Yeah, so there was some actual, like, weight changes on a lot of the stuff, and then they also lowered I'm gonna get this wrong, I think they made stamina, regen better, so sprint overweight limits went from 32 kilograms to 28. So at that point, I think you start when you're sprinting, you're burning more stamina than you normally would.
Yeah,
And then your walk overweight limits is at 42 kilograms. It went from 32 to 42. So
yeah.
now you can walk and regen stamina better, I think. So you
Yes.
don't have to crawl as much. Is kind of what I'm interpreting it as.
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly it. That was actually that's the one that I spent most of my time looking at because the other one, like the weights of items, kind of like fine, I'll see it in the stats, so it's kind of whatever. But that one is actually quite important. I think the buff to walking and the nerf to
Yeah,
sprinting is quite good because I think a lot of people, again, they realize it this time now that the full weight system's been implemented and everyone's using the various bits and pieces, that half the time, depending on the kit that you wear, especially if you're wearing one of the more bulky kind of armored rigs, I think they're the particular culprit. You go into raid and you're already overweight on entry, which is kind of rough. Right? It's kind of rough. Good
yeah,
for strength.
yeah,
Good for strength leveling. I'm
yes,
probably
yeah,
leveling my strength faster than I have ever in any wipe.
yeah,
But
for sure.
I think it's probably good. I think it's probably good because again, it's like it's incentivizing people to sprint less, walk more. You get better stamina regen from walking around rather than just like sprinting everywhere. And sprinting should be hard. Sprinting is really hard work, especially when you're wearing gear. And
Yeah,
so I think it's okay. People walk most of the time for good reason, because it's a damn sight easier than it is shift Wing you around the real world. And I think that's probably okay for gameplay. Honestly, I think it's fine.
I'll have
I
to
do think
test.
it's fine.
Yeah, I don't think I've actually got a chance to really use that new system, so I'm curious to see how that changes. Like, if I'll remember to not dolphin dive every 5 seconds or whatever. But we'll see.
Exactly.
Um,
Was there any other news, like proper news?
I
Any
guess
new
one
stuff?
thing that will transition nicely into something I want to talk about is there's a podcast tomorrow, Saturday, with Dan Exert, Iron Fist, Clean, and One Peg,
Hmm.
and they are going to be discussing Scav Karma, and
Yeah.
I'm very curious to see what they're going to discuss. I'm pretty interested in that. So one of the things I've been doing is I need level 2 stash to get level 2 Intel Center, which gets me the Bitcoin farm. And that upgrade is like 3.5 million just flat rubles, plus some other random stuff that's not really that expensive. But um, so I was like, I need to make money because I have none. So I did a bunch of scav runs on interchange because I was like, what's selling for a lot? And after some searching, I saw like CPU fans. I think people are starting to
Yeah.
build their farms. So I just hit every computer giga, and my experience has been completely different than what it has in prior episodes that we've discussed. Um, so first of all, everyone's pretty much been friendly with me, and I've
It's
like
good.
really pushed it over the edge. And I would always drop them my most valuable things. Like one raid, I dropped the OFZ shell. One
Mm.
raid, I dropped like I just spawned in. Only thing I had was like a rat coal. I was like here. And then another raid, I found a Gen 4 full protection, well, whatever the one that covers like your chest and stomach, or maybe it's high mobility. Yeah,
High
that one.
mobility, that one. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I found that in the crate and I gave that to a scav. So I
Wow.
was like really committed to making sure that everyone was friendly. But overall, they even without that, they seem to be very friendly.
Mm.
Um, and it's been very weird because I basically run around the map and loot everything that's lootable, Giga. And I come out, I think I did like around 4 to 5 scav raids, plus maybe a couple PMC raids of like doing quests and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I made my money in that time frame. And it was like, okay, so my takeaway was like more people are not being aggro, especially on like a map like Interchange Nighttime where it gets a little spicy, it's a
Yeah.
little spice. Um, and like we were like, I was like getting them, I was like using voice lines like, come on, let's go loot. And we would like go and loot all these back offices and stuff. So I felt like the cooperation really was there, and like we would like wiggle at each other and shake our heads and shoot our guns at the extracts. It was cool. But I am a little concerned that it is just kind of like free money because there's really like the one raid I died to PMC's extract camping, which I was like, God, you guys are such big wieners. It's 7 minutes. You guys are you telling me you guys have been here for 36 minutes in the Immercon extract? Like, what is going on, dude? You guys are the biggest wieners.
Oh goodness.
I was pretty mad too. I think I told you this because I found a Bitcoin and
Oh yeah.
I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go to the extract. I don't want to chance it, which was a mistake because clearly the extract is now the most dangerous place.
Oh my goodness.
But,
It's kind of good, but yeah, I mean, I think you said this last week. You were like, I'm not sure if this changes the game considerably for Scav. And I have been thinking about what you said then when in my Scav raids, because I've been playing quite a few as well. And I also play interchange sometimes. I tend to play day, but it doesn't seem to
mhm.
really make much difference. I run around Ollie and I loot the stuff, and there's no one there, and you just loot. And when you do find somebody, you both go scab mumble, wiggle wiggle, and you just move on with your life. And it was actually I had a really really nice one because I've ended up like I got stuck on like a couple of quests, but I've had like some super good RNG recently, which has been really nice for some of the quests. I had my punishment for the Amelia Rye croutons, which literally I only got like the other day, so I've only just been able to unlock the rest of Jaeger's quest line like literally the other day because
No
is just
way.
I could not find this other crouton, and I did like woods runs over and over and over and over. I went to reserve to the kitchen over and over and over and over, and I had like
Unlucky.
I had like rows and rows and rows of food, and I have like 8 of the other crouton. I'm like, they've got the same spawns, so like it's just bad luck. Anyway, I finally found one in reserve. But other than that, things have actually been going pretty well. And like I was going into Ollie because I was trying to find Alkali for Peacekeeper because I said I was like pushing down his quest lines quite aggressively. I did this last time as well to get to the RSAS because I was just like to hell with paying 500k on the market for the RSAS to do mechanics like gunsmith quests.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that. I'm just going to get on Peacekeeper's quest lines, and they're okay anyway. And you have to do them, and he unlocks good stuff, so it's fine. Um, and I went into interchange once, looked around, tried to find this alkali. I already had one, couldn't find it. Went back in again, went up kind of like around the ramp sort of area. I came in from like an odd angle. I was like over in Goshan, and I came like down past the ramp, and I was like, oh, this is a bit spicy. And then there was a dude like stood in the tech store. I can't remember which one it's called, but it's the one if you were coming up the ramp, it's on directly on the left. Is that Rasmussen? I can't remember. I'm so bad at interchange.
Texaco, maybe.
Texaco. And anyway, so it's the one with all the wood flooring anyway, and you're really loud. So
Oh, yeah, you're right.
I was like, oh, this guy, oh dear, and then he was like, oh no, wiggle wiggle. I was like, oh okay, because I thought he was a PMC because he actually had like a helmet on. I couldn't really see because it was very dark. And I wandered in anyway, and like he just looks at the ground, literally just spits out an alkali onto the floor, and I was like, oh my god, it's the item I was looking for. That's insane. And I was like, I can't really tell him. I did like, one of those like crazy mouse like head
Yeah,
spins. I was
yeah,
like, I
yeah,
really want to tell this
yeah,
dude, like, you've literally just made my day. And he just drops like the finding raid alkali on the ground, the thing that's going to finish off. Because I'd done all of the others, because I think you can craft most of them now. But the alkali you have to go and find. And I had one. And I just like, hightailed it straight out to there and just scav mumbled at the guy and left. So yeah, I've had the same experience. Like I don't think I've been shot at even in the scav raid yet
Mm.
because I'm most of the time I'm going in places that PMCs aren't. And one other thing that I had a really weird one where I was doing a quest run on woods, and this like random like hatchling dude just like comes running up. He wasn't like a complete hatchling, but he was like had very little gear, and I shot him like 2 times with the pistol, and I was like, oh, he's not firing back, and then he like wiggled and I wiggled, and then I said like hold your fire, and then I like dropped a Slayer on the floor for him, and he like met it up, and then he just like followed me around for a bit. I feel like it's had some weird effect on things. Like obviously, proper PMCs are going to kill you, but there's a lot
Mhm.
more just general friendliness, even amongst kind of like low gear people. Like that would never have happened before, and I probably also would have just shot that guy dead previously. Like my own behavior has changed because I was like, oh, actually, he's like
Yeah.
almost got nothing here. Maybe he's just trying to do a thing, and like that wouldn't have occurred to me before. It would literally just been like, I'm getting my headshot XP, bang, and killed him with the M9. So it's interesting how it's changing it. But yeah, going right back around to what you said originally, I am slightly. I mean, you still have to put the effort in, right? But I am slightly concerned with the fact that it is just free. It's just free money now. Playing Scav is basically no risk, and you just run around and you just loot whatever you like.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, so it's a couple things I'll touch on. It's like, I almost felt like we kind of gave, I was listening to some of our older podcasts and like,
Mm.
listening to, I was doing some timestamps and whatnot for YouTube, and I noticed we were really ragging on Scav Karma, man, at the start. But I almost feel like we kind of gave Scav Karma a bit not enough time to really develop, because now it is seemingly like I seem to have like the worst experience
Mm.
at the start, and now it's definitely like completely different. Um, so I guess the system is working, and if this is what they intended, that's where I'm a little concerned, because now I'm like, okay, where's the risk? I know I see the reward, guys, but where's the risk? You know, because Scav was already kind of like a okay, here's a free kit that costs you nothing, you know.
Yeah.
Um, go make something of yourself, you know. And I really like that. I mean, I was like, man, at the start, I used to like preach, go play your Scav, you know, and that's all I did.
Yeah.
Like, my Scav up, you know what I'm saying, guys? Hey, you trying to do a Scav run? My Scav's up. Hey, that Scav's on cooldown. Let's go. You know what I'm saying? That was the jam, dude. So now that is very concerning to me that, okay, I would rather people do this system than go in hatchling and shove things up their butt. But the lore between the lines is one is like killing themselves or slash dying to a Scav. The other one is just extracting. So like it is an improvement, you
Mm.
know. But I am just a little concerned that this might be a little too good, because here's the thing: you can lose this reward if you lose enough rep. Your scav becomes a really long cooldown, right? If it goes so low, you become cursed and tagged, and if it becomes so low, you spawn with like just a pistol, you know, maybe a rig, maybe a tactical sling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's like people are incentivized to not kill each other, right? So if there's no PMCs in the raid, um, what do? You just run around and loot.
Exactly.
So
There's
it's
nothing
like
left.
it's kind of, I don't know. It's very weird. It's very weird. And like in theory, there shouldn't be all the good loot there, but because of the market and how the economy works, and the people need stuff, people desire. There's a demand for a lot of items.
Yeah.
It's just like you can make money. I mean, like I said, in my 5 to 6 scav raids, I made 3.5 million, which I was just like, this is going a little like when I was first doing it, I looted like all the PCs Giga, which there's like 20. There's a ton of PCs on the interchange. There's a ton,
Yeah.
and I came out. I min max. I was like power cords, PC fans, you know, whatever caps for like
Yeah.
decent money, like just whatever. And I was like, this is going a little too well.
You know what was also an interesting thing that I found as well, and I don't know whether you have the same experience, but a weird side effect of this, because scavs aren't killing each other and they're not chasing shots or anything like that now, because you really don't have anyone playing aggressive. I like don't really bump into player scavs as PMC either. I'm finding the raids a lot
Mm,
quieter in some ways, and maybe that's because like there's lower scav turnover as well. Scavs are like in the raid and they're in the loot spots looting things. They're not out fighting, you know, and it's I am finding a much decreased, like, and this is kind of why I was saying like the wipe's going a bit weirdly in some ways for me, because I feel like my PMC, I'm like running around, sometimes I bump into other PMCs, bump into AI scavs, hardly ever run into player scavs. And even then, because I'm doing like questing stuff and I'm kind of like know the maps and things, I end up avoiding a lot of PvP anyway. I feel like half the
right.
time I'm just going places, grabbing things and leaving as PMC. And
Yeah.
I think what we said before about like the incentivization about what is Scav Karma supposed to do, and it's supposed to give more of a threat to PMCs and allow scavs to band together. Well, I actually don't think that PMC threat piece is actually there, because the scavs are just out making money for their PMCs. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah. And
takes away from sort of like the blocker from the PMC play.
here's the thing too. I think PMCs are motivated to leave the raid earlier, because you don't want to fight a 5-man scav army, you know.
Yeah,
Like that's I sure don't. And I know interchange. I don't know why, but this happens. It seems to happen almost every wipe. At the start of wipe, interchange, you scav in, you spawn 40 minutes into raid, but towards like the as the weeks go on, it tends to like start spawning you later. I don't know why that's the case. That seems to be a trend, but yeah, I mean for sure. I feel like there's incentive for PMCs to get out of raid faster. You know, go hit all the high tier stuff and then get out. Because I don't want to fight a 5-man scav.
Exactly. I feel like into like I've been doing sort of a mixture of reserve and
Mm-hmm.
an interchange. I started off with a lot of wood stuff because then you need lots of like food items, but now I've been doing
Yeah,
like reserve and interchange. Reserve, I pretty much spawn in at like 37 minutes, 40 minutes, 35 minutes, pretty much every time. Interchange, 12 minutes on the dot without
yeah,
fail. It's
yeah.
interesting. It's interesting.
It's doing that now. I noticed at the start of it though, it was spawning you in early, and I
Mm,
don't know if that's something they fixed or if that's just there's more people playing. They put more people in earlier. I don't know.
yeah.
But yeah. So even on your reserve raids, you're not seeing a lot of PMCs that you know of.
No, I think all the PMCs are underground and farming raiders and like, in the train station and stuff. It's just not where I've been going. I've been going to like the pawn buildings and the kitchen area and some places like that because it's like there's actually like just rooms full of filing cabinets, like some
Yeah,
PCs, duffel bags, like that kind of stuff. And it's great actually. His toolboxes, like you can fill up a whole scab with like really valuable stuff and just leave. And the thing that I quite like about reserve is you're really close to the extract. Like interchange is a little bit of a slog sometimes to get to the extract, and as we know, they're quite notorious. But the scav extracts, I've never been shot at going to any of them. Hole in the wall, the heating pipe, I've just literally run through the open and just leave through. It's like
yeah.
no one's there. There's nothing at heating pipe. Now, people are there at the start because they're positioning around and there's like maybe in the sniper towers, they're moving around the edge of the map. Towards the end of the game, people are at train station or they're like fighting around the underground section, maybe in like the pawn buildings or something because like Blue Heart's there or whatever. But it's just like no one's really there. Like maybe they go up to Dome. I've never been exit camped at Dome either, I have to say.
Now, are you running into player scavs as well?
Sometimes, and we just wiggle and move on.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting because before that would been a point of tension, and
Mm.
I don't want to suggest that like that needs to be the case. Um, but because the it's like we went from one extreme to the other extreme. Extreme, I'm gonna say
Yeah.
loosely. Um,
Yeah, from like everybody shooting each other on sight to just like literally nobody firing a weapon. I don't feel like I've fired
right.
a scab weapon for 20 scav raids or something. Like I never even because half the time, even if I get jumped by a PMC, I'm so surprised I just die. The guy's on like high alert, he's playing solo. I make one movement and I come around the corner and he just kills me. Right. And it's just like I didn't even get time to react. I'm not half the time I'm not wearing a headset. I don't even hear the guy. And then I'm thinking, oh, is it a scav? Is it a player? I don't want to lose karma. And so I
Yeah.
lean around and I'm just instantly dead. So it's like, well, I don't think I've killed any PMCs as my scav this wipe at all. And it's not what I've been focusing on. I've been focusing on looting stuff and getting things. I was like, as I said to you before, I was doing woods for food and also hideout items because that was like the perfect combo. Those villages for all the toolboxes and all of the items like croutons, like tushonka, all that kind of stuff, and then customs literally hitting dorms over and over and over and over and over to get keys, 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 keys. And then finally now moving on to interchange and reserve for kind of some of the more expensive items, more filing cabinets on reserve and some more food items because I needed stupid croutons. But then interchange just toolboxes and various things in Ollie is kind of the way, trying to look for that alkali and that kind of stuff. And also, as you said, there's tons of computers. And I was looking for the CPUs there. And so I use my scav to like hunt around for those items where I think it's more efficient, honestly. If you've got like find in raid items that you need to hand in, it's way better doing it as your scav. Firstly, you start off in the middle of the raid at some point, and secondly, you can just like shift W's to somewhere and it doesn't really matter, and you just get given a free gun. So you're better off almost doing that than you are doing like pistol runs with your PMC because you have to buy the pistol and you have to go in and it's at the
Yeah.
beginning and then you get more likely to bump into someone because the sport people are going from their spawns or whatever. Whereas the scav raid, it's just like it's just you run in, you go get the stuff that you want. I'm amazed at the amount of stuff there is actually. Like,
There's
there
a
seems to be
lot to
tons of
loot.
stuff. I don't know. I don't really know why. Maybe it's because like PMCs are just leaving early. Everyone's questing. I'm not sure because I know I'm not looting a great deal with my
Yeah.
PMC. I'm like going in, doing the quest, and then leaving the raid. And so when you turn up as a scav, there's like stuff everywhere, especially loose loot. I don't know
Yeah.
whether there's a lot of new players or people who just like less experienced who've played previous wipes who've come back and they just kind of forget where all the stuff is, whatever. But like I've done runs through the back, like the back warehouse bit of Ollie, where every single toolbox is looted and the shelves are littered with items. And I've filled my backpack just on items around the edge of the map. And
Hmm.
this it's crazy. Sorry if you there's a motorbike outside my
You're
window.
good.
But yeah, like people underestimate the loose items dramatically, as far as I could tell, and they are harder to spot. So you have to kind of know that they're there. But there's just stuff everywhere. Like there's never been a scav run where I'm just like, this used to happen all the time in the previous wipe, where I'd go through, everything's been looted, there's nothing there, all the stashes have been searched, and I kind of just have to hightail it to the exit. I have a couple of bolts and a screw or something. I'm just like, well, I guess that'll do. I'm running out of time. That just doesn't happen now. It's just like every time I'm just like, oh, I don't have a bag. That really sucks. Because I'm going to fill it. I'm going to fill it because everybody's questing. It's insane.
Airwing brought up a good point in chat. He says, I think big part is that so many players are after different loot, especially if you don't have the flea market. The term valuable is so different, you know? Like, gosh, like a CPU fan to like a pre-level 10 is worth nothing, you know, whatever it sells to the vendor versus to like a guy that has a flea market. That's 25K right there. That's 30K. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. It makes a
Um,
makes a massive difference.
yeah.
It
Like
does make a massive
toilet
difference.
paper, soap, I would never toothpaste, I'd never loot that as a flea market guy. But if I'm just starting out, man, that's like the only thing I care about on this map customs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the toothpaste for sure. I remember
Yeah.
definitely just like trying to search for that because just like need that med station. It's
Yeah.
very, very different. It's very different. I quite like it, right? There was somebody who's complaining on Reddit about like, oh, can you believe that only you can only buy crackers with rubles at the beginning? And someone was just like, yes, because they want you to go and find the food. You got to go and find the food. You got to just buy everything. It's not just a numbers simulator. You have to go and actually loot the stuff. I was like, yeah, exactly. That's why I've done it like this. You can't just
Yeah.
buy your way through everything. You used to be able to buy your way through all the quests once upon a time. Well, you can't do that anymore because that was clearly silly. Um,
Yeah. Clearly silly. Yeah, I'm kind of already like sad that I got the flea market because I'm already like min maxing it. It's like, okay, right, buy this rig, buy this gun, you know what I mean? It's just like I don't know, it was
eh,
fun.
so I am and I'm not because I feel like now I'm at this kind of like intermediary stage where it's like, well, I have the flea, but I don't have enough. I don't have enough money, um, which is which is kind of causing me some problems, I suppose, because I'm just like, well, there's all these things that I really want to buy, but I can't buy them, and I need to get more money to get
Well,
everything working or whatever. Like I think
you
what yeah.
can. You just spend it on the hideout gig.
That's true. That's true. Because like I'm definitely like a deferred reward person, 100%. 100%.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm just like, 2 million rubles tomorrow versus 1 million rubles today. I'll spend that 1 million rubles today every single time. Like unless the return is very small,
Mhm.
like I'm like really super incentivized by those kind of things.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just
for
it's
sure.
just the way it's just the way I
It's a
work. And
good investment.
yeah, it's just the way I work. Yeah, I don't know. I guess it's a little bit of a tangent, but like because I was pushing through Peacekeeper 2, I basically just been using like rubbish stuff pretty much the whole
Mhm.
time. I did like a couple of like half modded AKMs once I got to Prapor. But even though it's interesting because like my experience of like what to use has kind of changed over time. And I do think like the AKM stuff is really good at the beginning and you get like the option to do full auto. But like in the mid game, I don't think it's actually necessarily as good because to get the recoil down really low, you actually do need to put on lots of stuff.
Yeah.
And there's other better guns that you can use, I think, in the mid game that benefit from kind of the intermediate mods. Because I did try like comp and butt pad kind of AKMs, but didn't really work so much. And one that I actually went to play around with the other day after pushing through Peacekeeper was the RFB, which I haven't done a huge amount of, and it's something that's been on my list for ages because it's kind of like the big daddy hunter.
Yeah.
Um, and the hunter's great for like min max value, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have a good time using it. Do you know what I mean? Like
Right.
that, like
Yeah, yeah, no,
hunters now.
100%.
Oh my god, they're so cheap. Have you seen they're like 20 grand because you can't hit anything over range, but because of all like 50% durability, it's horrible. But anyway, the RFB. So I was like I'm on to Punisher Part 2, and I was like just had to kill scavs as a suppressed weapon, and I was running around shoreline with it, and honestly, it's beautiful. M80 at this point in the wipe is like so good.
Feels
Like
pretty good.
it
Yeah.
feels great. Like RFB with a suppressor and an L-can, man. Ah,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's a real goodie. Like I think going semi-auto with big rounds at this point is actually really decent. I'm really enjoying it. I was mostly fighting scavs, so I didn't fight many PMCs, but um it feels awesome to kind of go back to that. It like reminds me of because I was using a lot of like DMRs at the end of last wipe, and it kind of reminds me of going back to that, like the SR25 and
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
a couple of the others because I fell in love with the SR at the end of last wipe, and so it kind of feels a little bit like getting back into that. I'm like, oh yeah, this is something of what I've missed. Because I have missed it a bit, I have to say I have missed it a bit. So that's honestly been a lot of fun. It's been fun, like kind of moving up into that next tier of um
Mm-hmm.
of stuff. And also, obviously, when you spend money in US dollars with Peacekeeper, it doesn't count, right? It's free, basically. And it's like weird psychologically because you end up getting loads of dollars from his quests, and then you're just like, well, I can't
Yeah.
really
That's kind
convert
of
it that
yeah.
easily, so I just spend some dollars or whatever, and it's kind of okay. It doesn't affect my ruble balance, so. I know
Yeah.
there's a
Yeah.
weird psychological effect there. With like when you convert it, you're like, okay, look, it's actually like 60,000 rubles or something for this gun. But then you're like, oh, but it's in USD though. It's stuck in USD. It's fine. I'll just use it. And the M80's in USD as well. It's okay. The ruble count stays the same. It feels great.
If only the hideout accepted USD.
Yeah, exactly. It was quite nice until I got through to one of his questions. It's just like, give me $8,000, and I was just like, oh yeah, I actually have it already. There you go, from his quests, which is quite good. But yeah, it's been fun. It's been fun. I'm still really enjoying it. I'm enjoying the progression. Um, I'm kind of surprised, I guess, because of the standard account versus EOD thing. Like the stash upgrade is like massive, as you were saying. But I'm kind of surprised I've ended up with like Bitcoin so early. I suppose I don't know. It feels like there might have been more. I felt like there were more hurdles, but there actually weren't as many as I thought there were last time for some reason. Maybe I'm just getting better at the game. I don't know. It's possible.
Right, just getting well, this is like your fourth flight,
Yeah,
fifth
it's like
flight.
fourth or fifth. I'm not sure exactly. So
Yeah.
been through it for you. Like a lot of the quests this time now, I'm just kind of like, I know where I need to go. I know what I need to do. There's no kind of just like, how am I going to complete this one? It's just like I know what I have to do. I just have to go and do it.
Yeah.
Um, which is okay. And like some people get really fed up with the quests. I'm actually probably enjoying them more now
I don't
because
if there wasn't a reward, then I wouldn't
yeah,
like the quest, but I do, and I'm sorry to cut you off. I do really like that it drives people to certain locations
mm,
and it breaks up the monotony of late wipe because late wipe is like, let me rush that. Where'd I spawn? Where's the high tier loot closest to me? Where's the extract?
yeah,
Unless you're just like hunting PvP, but typically PvP is in the high tier loot area. So,
exactly.
anyways,
Yeah, no, it is good, but I think like it's weird now because unless they do some changes to Kappa or whatever, I don't even feel beholden to doing the quests that don't give like outright progression. Do you know what I mean? So like the ones
yeah,
that I
no,
don't want to
I'm
do, I don't feel like I have to
100%.
do them now, which is kind of good in some ways. Um, yeah, so it's a weird one. It's a weird one. Like I'm
Yeah.
feeling I'm enjoying them because I'm just like picking and choosing, and none of them are too hard to begin with. And then once I get to those really annoying ones, I'll be like, just do the ones I want to do, and after that, do what I want to do. It's good. It's going well so far. I'm pleased. I'm pleased.
Yeah. Um, gosh, I can't, any, anything else before we wrap up? I got a bit of a spicy closer for you.
Okay. No, I think I'm good. I think I'm good. I know this is a bit more of like a general one, but there's not been a lot of news, and
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it's just like interesting to see how things unfold.
Okay. So one quick thing is back to Scav Karma. I do feel like we might see a bit of inflation going on in this wipe. Um, I'm not too sure. We'll see because it like we've you and I kind of see on the same page is it just feels very risk free. Therefore, it's
Yeah.
just like free money. Maybe that will flood the market and will like prices will drop.
I think it
Maybe
has. I
maybe
think that
that's
has
more
happened already
likely.
in some things. Like I don't know whether you've noticed like screws, like the packet of screws, the nuts are like really cheap now. Like bolts were expensive, but they've been dropping. I'm like you can pick up bolts for like
Mm,
12K. There's a lot of stuff actually that's got a
For
lot cheaper. I was quite
12K?
surprised. They were today when I was looking.
That's crazy.
I think they're going up and down quite a lot. There's a big like, you know, players come online, players go offline, like people doing scav
That's
runs,
a
people
big
playing
thing.
PMC. So there were big fluctuations. I actually don't have Tarkov Market,
Yeah,
which
I'm
is something
looking
I
up
probably
right now.
should.
They're
I,
at 18K currently, and let's see, they were at 15K. Um, yesterday was like a low.
yeah.
The
The thing is,
peak.
they turn over so quickly, right? You can have them.
Yeah,
They could be running at like 12K for like 30 seconds. And then like everyone's putting them up, and then they're like 11.75, 11.8, 11.9, and then someone goes and buys them all, and then they're like back to 18. It's so choppy right now that the
interesting.
averages are like fine, but a lot of the time, like there's actually quite a few items that I'll just like go in, look at, refresh a bit, like if especially if it's looking low, like refresh a bit, and there's like a few big things in there, just see what happens, and then just like okay, fine, whatever, we'll come back another time or whatever, because there's like it's just crazy right now, it's just all over the place. But I've seen a lot of items getting really really super cheap. By the way, one random thing that's really annoying me, and I don't know whether this is really annoying you, because I want to look at some gun builds and I just want to see if anything's changed, and nobody is putting up RK2s on the market,
Yeah,
no one, so I can't
you
identify
gotta
it, so
find
I
it.
can't use it in my presets. So
Yeah.
annoying. Anyway, yeah, so we were just saying, you were saying about Scav Karma. Sorry, I derailed you talking about like the cheapness of items. But you said there might be
No,
inflation.
that's well, now I'm thinking that I'm wrong, and you are bringing up two good points. One, people are coming into the market, they're finally unlocking level 20, and then there's sort of that exchange happening where it's like, I need wires and light bulbs, and I have a bunch of random stuff that I don't need. Take my stuff, and then like the market just like shifts radically. You know what I mean? Like because someone buys up all those wires and then it knocks the price up and then eventually comes back down and someone else unlocks the flea market, that sort of process. I think that's happening. And then also what we're kind of saying is that it's not necessarily inflation, it's more of there's more people surviving, so there's more items to sell. So the market's kind of being flooding with more items. Um
Yeah,
that's really interesting. I can't wait to see how that sort of like plays out.
exactly. I'm not sure exactly what that does to like the end game items. Like if everything gets really cheap, it'll be quite hard to make as much money because there's more money in the system. Everyone has more of it. I don't really know how that plays out. I actually don't know what the kind of logical steps are to like where does a
Yeah, I don't
slick
know.
price on the market. Then I actually don't know. Um, my 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 gut is that it'll be lower because everything's lower. That's my gut, but I'm not sure.
I think that the demand for the high tier stuff will increase over time, and because, more people are surviving, so there's more items being sold. I don't know, we'll see. Eventually, everyone yeah, we'll see. It'll probably be about the same in the flea market,
Maybe.
like, economy, but I feel like right now, there is, like, very few things that feel like, you know, everything feels about 10K per slot. It
Yeah.
usually is, like some things are, like, really good and some things are just trash, you know? I don't know, it's kinda interesting.
Mm.
Alright, the last thing I wanna talk to you about is, Erotic. I was debating about dropping his name or not, but I really don't give a fuck because I don't anyways. So, I don't know if you saw this video, but he put out a video where he interviews with a coder of cheats for Escape from Tarkov, AKA just emulate Tarkov dev. And we did an episode not too long ago talking about Tarkov
Single player,
SP.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and if I recall, we sort of like, or at least I was trying to emphasize, like, hey, this stuff is like not good. You know what I mean? Like it's cool, it's really cool, but especially the Tarkov emulator one is very sketch because they are like basically stealing the game. You know what I mean? In a
Yeah.
nutshell, they really are. Um, so he interviews this guy, and there, there's been a this is okay. The interviewing the hackers is interesting, and I can see why people are interested in it. Um, but we have to be really careful about what's the message is being sent, because I feel like in some ways this is very much so just free advertisement for
Mhm.
them. Um,
100%.
and it, you know, when I click on a video like that, I'm already like, I can respect someone saying that, hey, let's just do this interview from like a objective standpoint, even though the whole time, like, this guy's a freaking dirtbag, dude. This guy's, like, you know what I mean? Um, I can respect that, and I will say personally, I found the Veritas one very interesting because
Yeah.
it wasn't necessarily a hacker. It was more so this guy designs and sells cheats. Like the whole RNT side adds a very interesting perspective as well. But anyways, jumping back on topic, I personally felt like erotic. I know there's been some bad blood between him and BSG in the past, right? And rightfully so. I don't know if anyone knows the issues, but we'll just say that BSG hasn't always had the best judgment on things, and there were some copyright strikes happening in the past for um, what's the term? We'll
Like
say
defamation or something.
yes, 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 defamation of their product and whatnot. And apparently, it was not directly BSG; it was their like sister company. I don't know. Regardless, there's been some contention with BSG in the past, so I personally felt like this video was just a big smear campaign against BSG, what really frustrated me the most is that it felt like he was not very, how do I frame this properly? Okay, when someone dies and they're like, "Oh my god, this guy's hacking," we don't know that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even if it's like he's literally speed hacking, it could be networking. You know what I mean? There's like so many variables. Like we just don't know. We just don't have all the information. Um, and when you're doing like this type of video and everything's being thrown as fact, like, oh yes, so when there's no audio, it's a fact that this guy is hacking. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
oh, it's a fact that every raid has a hacker. Like these things are very dangerous in my mind. Like when we start interjecting this type of stuff, and I really did not appreciate how he framed this video. It just felt like one giant shit on BSG. And I understand, again, there's some bad blood and rightfully so, you know what I mean? Because BSG was essentially coming after his livelihood. And I don't know all the details of the situation, but I can't get behind this rhetoric of, there's hackers, the game is infested with hackers. You know what I mean? Because when we start doing these like interviews and that starts becoming the message, are we not just like advertising hacks to people who are, like, curious? Because I know in the past when I was young, I recall a time when I was interested in hacking because I played a shitty Korean import to American free-to-play shooter that was, like, poop tier, and there was a bunch of hackers in the game, because it was a free game, and it was just, like, people were selling hacks, but there was free hacks, which was, like, wall hacks, and I was, like, interested. I was like, how easy is this?" It's like, "Yep, I read a post, and I installed the injector, and boom, I'm a hacker now." You know what I mean? It's just like,
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know if you saw the video or if you've kind of been in the news of this stuff because it has been circling the community a bit. I think one peg even did a call to action, like, guys, um, let's not interview the cheaters and let's not give them a space to, you know,
Yeah.
advertise
Like
their product.
I haven't seen that specific video. I have watched the Veritas one in the past. I think there was another
Mhm.
one. There was another one as well. Was it like Yule or someone who did a different one? I haven't seen any of the actual videos, but I have
Yeah.
obviously seen the stuff going circling around the community. And I don't know how much time you spend on the Tarkov Reddit, but there's a whole bunch of stuff circling on the Reddit as well about this kind of subject, which is also about. It's interesting because obviously from the cheater's perspective, the cheat producer's perspective, you need to have people know about it so that they can go and get it. Having an interview with content creator is a perfect way to advertise and market your services. Whether the content creator is doing it completely, innocently because they think it's interesting content, and I can completely understand that because may just think, oh yeah, this is, it's a perspective that everybody talks about but nobody hears from, and so you think, oh, we'll get them
Yeah.
on, without necessarily thinking about their ulterior motive and the fact that they effectively then are using your own platform. So that's kind of issue number one. The second one is like the number of threads on the Reddit itself about hacking, about cheating, and it's like at one stage it was insane. It was like every second or every third post was about cheating, and
Hmm.
eventually someone else posted something up there being like, guys, like most of these posts are probably from, again, the cheat designers, right? They want to make people think that this hacking is rife, that it's easy, and that you won't be banned. These are the three
Hmm.
things they want you to think.
Yeah.
Everyone's
Yeah.
doing it, it's easy to do, and you won't be banned. Those are the three things they want you to think. And they don't care whether you actually get banned or not. They don't care whether you're never going to be able to play the game or not. They just want to take your money for the hacks, and that's it. And there'll always be new players, and there'll always be new players getting pooped on by EFT because that's the kind of game it is. And every single time there's a brand new wipe, there's a huge influx of threads about cheaters because that's when you get all the new players, and that's when RMT is its most profitable, which makes
Yeah.
total sense. It makes total sense to launch a marketing campaign. You have to think of it as a business. That's exactly what RMT is, right? The getting banned and having to circumvent it and buy new copies of the game and stuff is literally a cost of doing business. And as long as you can make enough money to keep it going, then fine. And you want to do a big marketing push when a lot of people who are more likely to buy your product are looking and looking in the market, and that's exactly when Tarkov wipes. Like it's just business for these guys. It literally is just business. And the reason why they do it is because it's so it's so profitable comparatively because you can do it from anywhere, right? And it's I know, I don't really want to go down the path of talking about like the different region locks and that kind of stuff, but there are
Hmm.
definitely different areas of the world where people are incentivized more or less to enter into this kind of activity because if you can make I don't know, $20 an hour, $100 an hour or something doing RMT from one country, that's worth a lot more from another country, right?
Right.
It's basic
Right.
economics and
Yeah.
things about,
Yeah.
the internet levels this playing field off completely means that, an American is probably less likely to do this than someone who lives in another country because, the general state of wealth in the US is a lot higher. It's just the way that these things kind of work.
Yep.
Um, and so it's just business. It's just business to these guys. And so it's actually very interesting, like in general about marketing because it's marketing. I think I've recommended before to you to listen to Devin Nash if anyone's interested about like social media marketing, about esports, about business models that go behind video games. Devin Nash is probably one of the best people in the industry, and he started off being like the Twitch stats guy, but he talks about all sorts of stuff. And he did a video actually about cancel culture, and basically his conclusion. And he's a marketing guy, kind of like right from the outset. That's kind of like how he entered into business in the first place.
Hmm.
He basically says, unless you get completely deplatformed, right? And we're talking generally now, we're talking about like more in more general terms, but unless somebody gets completely demonetized and cannot actually even post anywhere on anything, the only way to, I don't know, prevent something or try to have an impact on anything is by entirely ignoring it. Even addressing the issue and trying to get people to boycott stuff. He was like, there's so many examples basically of people who've ended up in scandals, and 3 years later, or like even 6 months later, they're more popular than they ever were before because so many people found out about them, and a portion of those people go on to end up following this person, and everyone forgets about the scandal, and they're like twice to three times more popular than they were previously. So deplatforming obviously is like in the content creator land. If you get deplatformed, there's nothing else you can do. That's it. You're just banned, and that's it. Whereas like if that doesn't happen, you're likely to be more popular. Like you definitely won't be less popular in general. Like, more people will know who you are, and a lot of people just won't necessarily have context of what happened. So like yeah, as chat's saying, that all publicity is good publicity thing is like definitely true, and the cheaters
Yeah.
thing is the same. It's the same thing. And honestly, like we're probably not helping by talking about it either,
Yeah. Yeah. I was
because
just
like
thinking that.
yeah, because this is the thing. Like the only way that you can do something about anything is just by ignoring it. I think is really the only way. If you're like the average person, like obviously
Mm.
there's things that can be done by BSG or whatever. And if somebody asks you about it, then like yeah, you can show your opinion, which is take a dim view of it. That's fine. But I think it's interesting. It's actually a fascinating video. If anyone's interested, yeah, go to Devin
Yeah.
Nash's YouTube page, and it's his video about cancel culture. It's like it's really fascinating. It's about publicity and scandals, and there's even like there's a bizarre example that he shares in this video about two CEOs, which he can't name obviously because he's like, he's involved in both of them, who did a very similar thing, had an almost identical scandal. One guy came out with like an actual like apology, like proper like, explanation about everything that happened, blah blah blah, and he got fired. And the other guy said nothing. The company said nothing, and he still is in the same job now, like 3 years later. And he was like, "It's interesting because the guy who you see doing the like what you would think of being the right thing has given enough rope to end up hanging himself effectively, like on his own kind of words, you know what I mean? Whereas the other guy just said literally nothing. There's nothing there. There's nothing to grab onto except just rumors and speculation, and it dies away. It goes away. It's weird. The
Huh.
internet is weird. It's such a
Yeah.
weird thing. Honestly, it's fascinating. Genuinely, I found it really, really interesting.
Yeah.
His videos are really, really good. But anyway, so like, yeah, back to this topic. I mean, yeah, there's not really any avoiding it because these guys they'll find a way to get a platform, whether it's on Reddit or it's through some other unsuspecting content creator who's, as I said, either innocently or not, they'll find somebody who will talk to them, find it interesting, whatever. Because it is an interesting thing. It's something we don't necessarily have experience of. There's a reason why people are interested in it. People
Yeah.
who like Tarkov tend to be people who are interested in stuff. Otherwise, you wouldn't stick around so long and spend 3 hours reading the wiki. If you're interested in that kind of thing, then things probably do interest you. And this world is like a very secret, shady, hidden world that no one knows anything about, particularly because it's, you know, this is very, very naughty. Um, and also, yeah, this like weird underworld of like people hacking, writing code, and doing, whatever. It's like they're
Hmm.
in secret communities kind of thing. So there's no wonder that people are interested. And also obviously people are interested in using the hacks for God knows what reason, whatever reason. But RMT I understand, but people just using it in general day to day, like it's not even. It might be fun for like 2 hours, and then I don't understand how people can play for weeks with it. It's just crazy to me. But anyway, I don't really know how to conclude this, but that's my take.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. It's interesting. I think you kind of brought up some good points with you know, maybe even me just mentioning the whole subject was just more detrimental
I
than
mean, maybe. I think like where it is now, because it's so rife in the community at the moment, I honestly don't think it's really a big deal. There's YouTube videos about it. Reddit is absolutely rammed full of it. It's all over Twitter. So to be honest, I think we're probably, we're a drop in the proverbial ocean in terms of, social
yeah.
media discourse. But I think that's the thing in general. Like people in general need to ignore this stuff more. But like that's just not the way things work. So let's not worry about it.
Fair enough. All right. I think that we're gonna wrap it up there, Giga, unless you had anything else, bud.
Cool. No, it's all good. That was a very heavy topic to finish. But yeah, I think I'm done.
Cool. Well, guys, we're gonna get probably next episode we'll get to the messages. I got a couple lined up that I wanna feature,
Oh
so
yeah.
be sure to get those in. If you got any questions for us or anything you want us to talk about, subject or experience, let us know. Anchor.fm/ScavTalk. Send us a message. We'll get to you and you'll get featured on the show. Other than that, guys, good luck in your raids and we'll catch you next week.
Catch you later.